So today we're going to talk about op art. Op art, short for optical art, is a style of visual art that uses optical illusions. Op art relies on the special arrangement of the art elements, such as the precise arrangement of lines or the placement of complementary colors next to each other to create the illusion of movement. So if you look at both artworks below, they both look like they're moving. If you stare at them, they both look like they're moving. And the one on the left looks like it's moving because it has black and white shapes next to each other, right? And then the one on the right looks like it's moving because it has what's called complementary colors next to each other and very precise shapes and line work in both of these artworks. So Bridget Riley is one of the leading artists of the op art movement. The op art movement started in the 1960s. So Bridget Riley's paintings created an illusion of movement for the viewer. If you stare at the pattern she created, it will look like the painting is moving. So this is painted. This is not done on a computer. So Bridget Riley used repetitive shapes in her paintings to create optical illusions and movement. This is another op artist. This is Victor Vasarely, and he was another op artist of the 1960s. And his paintings are a little bit different because he has color added to them, whereas Bridget Riley worked mostly in black and white. So these paintings are also from the op art movement. And in his painting, Vega Nor, he has created the optical illusion of an orb on a flat surface. So that just means that in his painting to the right, it looks like there is a sphere or an orb popping out, but it's not. It's just a painting. So it's a flat surface. Another thing op artists did to create the illusion of movement was to juxtapose two complementary colors. So placing two complementary colors next to each other, and complementary colors are colors opposite each other on the color wheel. So if you look at the color wheel, the colors that are directly opposite each other on the color wheel are complementary colors. So purple and yellow are complementary colors, orange and blue are complementary colors, and red and green are complementary colors. So think of dividing the color wheel in half, and that is where the complementary colors are. So where red and yellow are sort of opposite each other, they are not directly opposite. So think about cutting that circle in half. And if you look at blue and orange and imagine a line going across, it's going to cut the color wheel in half. So that's what complementary colors are. They're directly opposite each other on the color wheel. So in this case, it's red and green, and it creates what's called chromatic tension. Okay, so by placing these two colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, kind of like black and white are opposites, you can also do this with color, right? So have you ever seen somebody wearing a striped t-shirt and it kind of looks like it's moving or it's hard to look at? Okay, so that is another way op artists created the illusion of movement. And here is MC Escher. You probably all have seen his artwork before. It's on t-shirts and there's posters, okay? And MC Escher worked from the 1930s to the 1970s. He started off studying architecture and then changed his major to graphic design. He was a superb draftsman, which is evident in his precise works of art. he worked as a printmaker at a time when printmaking was not considered an art form. All right, so if you weren't painting, you weren't considered an artist during this time. And he was a printmaker, so he would carve things out of wood and then ink them like kind of like a stamp, right? So here is one of his prints. It's called Waterfall. And if you look closely at it, you can see, if you really, really look at it, how the water is flowing. It doesn't make sense, right? So he created these impossible worlds. And here is another print from him. It's called Three Spheres 2. And that's a self-portrait in the middle. And I like this one because in the first sphere, you can really see the ceiling. There's that plaster image in the ceiling, and it's reflected in the sphere, and it's very subtle, but it looks really cool. And then here's another one. This is a woodcut, and this is called Day and Night. And so this one's kind of cool because you can see how the birds sort of go with each other. It's called like a tessellation. I don't know if you guys have done those in middle school art, where it's kind of like a puzzle and they fit together. Between the white birds, that negative space, there becomes a black bird. So it slowly changes from the pattern on like as the land, and then as it goes up, it kind of turns into these two different birds, one bird going one way and another bird going the other way. And then on the left, you have like a city during the daytime, and on the right, you have a city during the nighttime. And then here are some more colorful op art examples.